Hey there, it's Richard from DIY Kits Australia. We're an online retailer of anything to do with putting things together. And today the thing that I'm putting together is a metal earth kit. These are fantastic little models that you put together by taking some parts out of steel sheets, putting them together and securing them by twisting or bending some tabs. I've built a couple of these already, but this is the first one that I've decided to build. There's lots of people that sell these kits, but there's not a lot of people that actually sell them and build them and know what they're talking about. And so I'd like to get to the point where I know what I'm talking about. Although I've built a couple of more advanced ones before, the one that I've chosen today is super simple, as this is my first of these build videos and I want to just basically use this as a test. So I've chosen something nice and easy, probably the easiest kits to build in the range of Metal Earth. This is from the Butterfly collection and I've chosen the Buckeye model. And the tools that I'm going to potentially be using during this build also come from a kit that we sell, which is by the same company that makes the Metal Earth kits. And this includes a set of needle nose pliers, good for sometimes bending the tabs on the parts, also good to use the sides here sometimes for curving parts, which won't be necessary, I don't think, in today's model. There's also some regular pliers, also good just for bending parts when necessary, or possibly the tabs. And there's also some flush cutters, or you might call them side cutters. These are great for removing the parts from the steel sheets. Probably the most useful thing though is a set of tweezers. I don't have a good set at the moment. These are actually a really pointy set. A flatter set would be better. I need to get my hands on something there. So, hey, look, I'm not quite sure how this is all going to go. This is a bit of a test. You might see me bringing my magnifying glass in as well, which is helpful sometimes. Let's give it a go and see what happens. The first step, of course, is to open it. You can just rip the top off. If you're doing that, make sure you tap it down a little bit so that you don't accidentally cut through any instructions. I happen to know, though, that with this model, there are no printed instructions inside. There are in most of the kits. In this case, the instructions are just on the back. So let's have a go at just opening this up and seeing what we get. And inside there is one steel sheet. Now, Metal Earth models have come a long way from when they started, and some of the models today, including this one, are actually printed in colour. And sometimes the website doesn't really do justice showing the detail of colour and design they've got in. It's really quite beautiful. Today's one is very simple. Looks like we've got all of 8 parts. And I'm going to go through step by step, cutting out the part that we need and talking you through what I think needs to be done. Step 1 is the largest part here, so these flowers. So I'm just going to take these cutters and look for the part where it's connected and very, very carefully snip that off. The good thing with these flush cutters is you can get right into the little holes that they leave, which makes the job of removing the parts so much easier. Now, I would prefer to just grab each part as I need it. Some people like to go ahead and cut out all the parts and put them aside. I'm not going to do that. So the instructions are showing me that this needs to be put down first, and all the little tabs, these little tabs that are sticking up here, need to be bent upwards. So I think I'm going to try my regular pliers there to help me with that. And this is a good point too, if you're the age I am and your eyesight's not what it used to be, it's a good idea to get a little magnifying glass out to help you with that. In fact, I'm not even sure that it's necessary to use the pliers. I'm just going to bend these tabs up using the table. Now the inside ones are a bit trickier, so this probably is where it's helpful to have something. You might be able to get your finger in, but I'm going to use these. In fact, this is probably a good job for the tweezers. And that's step 1 done. Step 2 and step 3 are to grab the other wings. So I've just got to have a look at the sheet here and make sure I've got the right ones, as they are slightly different shapes. There's 2 and 3 and there's 4 and 5. So here it's not immediately obvious. So here we go. This is number 2 and 3. Actually, as I've gone through, I've just only realised, again, my eyesight's not done me any favours. The numbers of the parts that you need in this particular kit, I haven't seen this with the other ones, are actually printed on the sheet. So that'll make it easy. The one that I'm getting out here is number 3, so I'll put that off to the right. And now I'll take out number 2. Now from here I assume that, which I'll swap those over, so yeah, that was number 3, so I'll swap them over because in the instructions they're showing them the other way around. And if I look closely, I can see that there are no corresponding holes on this particular kit. In most of the Metal Earth kits you actually push the tabs through holes, the little corresponding slots, and then either bend or twist the tabs. This butterfly kit is a little bit different in that all that we're doing is pushing the parts into place here and then bending the tabs over to secure them in place. It's a little bit of an unusual or unconventional approach for these. I'm going to give this a very gentle crimp with the pliers to make sure that those tabs are down and holding those 2 wing pieces in place. Okay, now the next step is to cut out parts 4 and 5. Now, when you're cutting these parts out, make absolutely sure that you're cutting out the part that is joined to the sheet. I can see, I've not done it, but I can see that it would be pretty easy to accidentally cut the tabs instead of the part you want to remove. You can actually get the parts out by gently twisting them a few times, but I find it's a hassle and it can leave a bit of a burr where you remove them from the sheet, although that's fairly easily removed. Now, the step here seems to be the same as before, where we bend these tabs up and then put the 2 sides together. Now the tabs can take a little bit of manipulation, but if you use them too much they will break off. So this is definitely a delicate part of the operation. First. Now the same for part 5. Okay, now we're up to step 7. It doesn't immediately seem obvious to me how these two wing sections are going to attach, but they'll probably come into play when we take out the next part. So this is part 7 from the sheet. Okay, so it looks like we need to attach this first set of wings that we created first. So I'm trying to just work out which set of holes they'll go in. So there are 3 tabs that we're left with, and I can see 3 corresponding tabs. I know from experience with other kits that this is going to be probably the trickiest part because we've got a number of tabs trying to go in at once. So this part might take a little bit of time to get right. Once you've got the wing parts through the body section, and I have to admit on my one that was quite tricky, then you need to fold the tabs back to secure them in place. Okay, now it looks like the next step, we're still at step 7, is to secure the other wing section onto the body in the same way. Let's see if this one goes together a little bit more easily. Okay, so I've got the 2 wing pieces in place now, and so we're up to step 8. Now, in step 8, that's actually our last step. It shows a couple of different things. First of all, we've got to take out the next part and bend them over. But what I'm going to do first is this piece that is the body piece that's used to attach the 2 wing pieces. There's actually some pieces there that need to fold up to match that in place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. There's a bit, looks like right on the tail, and then there are these 2 side bits here. Now I'll remove part 8 from the sheet. Note that the coloured side, the black side, needs to be up as you bend these side parts down. Now it looks like the 2 body sections just need to be attached. It's not immediately obvious to me how each of these pieces are supposed to bend in, but the first step is there are 2 little tabs on the body section, so I'm going to get them into place, and then I think the rest of it should become pretty obvious. Okay, I didn't notice this the first time around. There is actually a tab that also needs to be connected in the tail section. Then it's just a matter of bending this front tab in the body and trying to get all of those little metal pieces to more or less join up. Okay, so on reflection, probably what would have been better there is this very front part of the body needs a bit more of a bend, possibly as much as 90 degrees to join up with those other parts. And because this part is black, the coloured parts are very easy to scratch, so go very slowly on this section. The side parts can also just come in ever so slightly to join up any gaps that might be there. Again, as these are painted parts, go very, very gently on these. I'm just finishing off by bending the tabs on the body section back against each other to lock everything into place. That completes all the actual putting together of the butterfly kit, but as we can see in the last step, we need to bend the butterfly wings, legs and antennas to give it a natural look. Now, I'm no lepidopterist, so I'm not sure how I'm going to go with this, but I'm going to try and do my best by copying the look of the butterfly on the packaging. The Buckeye Butterfly by Metal Earth. I hope you've enjoyed watching me build this kit. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and you can pick yours up at diykits.com.au.